Welcome back to Across the Board with E and the Colonel. E is stepping out of the building for a second, but that's not going to stop us from having a whole bunch of fun because we have Frankie the bassist from The Darkness joining us right now, one of the greatest rock and roll bands in the planet as far as I'm concerned. Frankie, how you doing today?
I'm good, thanks.
Good.
Great.
Now, you guys are getting ready to play a show up in Atlantic City at the House of Blues, and of course, you know, Atlantic City's been through some recent devastation due to Hurricane Sandy. How important is it for a band such as The Darkness with that high-energy show to come and bring some joy and happiness to that area as well?
Well, yeah, we like to think that if you're looking for joy and happiness, then you come to the right place, huh?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, that's what we try to do, yeah. So, really hope we can add some positive energy and some fun. Hope we can do that, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And you guys put on one hell of a stage show. What's the secret success with that high energy music of yours? It seems like I can't find a song that I just don't want to get up and just start dancing around so crazily when I hear it. What's the secret behind that process?
Well, Justin, our singer, is a very positive guy, yeah, and that's his mojo, you know, and he's got his mojo back, so that's important too. And something to do with the register that he sings in, you know, he sings with a kind of sense of joyous abandon,
right?
Like a bird.
Yeah.
Which bird would it be? Well, actually, funny enough, we have a tour T-shirt. We're selling a T-shirt which has the spirit animals, the
right.
spirit animal for each band member, and I think Justin is the eagle.
Yeah, just saw that one on Facebook. That's a nice looking shirt. And which spirit animal were you?
It looks like I'm the stag.
All right,
which
good.
is probably because I'm because of the Scottish thing, you know. Maybe it's because my personality kind of I've got this kind of fronty kind of on stage anyway, kind of almost like an aggressive thing compared to the other guys.
Right.
But I'm probably quite gentle and shy underneath that. So that's probably the thing with the deer stag type thing, yeah.
Right, and you guys have seen a lot of success stateside with the single, I Believe in a Thing Called Love, and I honestly feel like you guys don't get a lot of the respect that you deserve over here stateside. What do you think is the difference between playing shows in the UK and Europe to playing shows in the US?
It's definitely a passionate cult fan base we have in the States, for sure,
right.
Yeah. And the gigs are kind of more or less same in the sense that it's a communal kind of joyous experience. But the Americans probably are, you know, it's the home of rock and roll, isn't it, here? So, and I suppose it makes our gigs a little bit more kind of rock and roll gigs rather than kind of theatrical glam rock gigs that might be over in Europe, yeah. So, you know, like in the UK, you've got that tradition of camp rock and roll. So I suppose when we're over here, we're a little bit more manly, you know, and we're tapping into kind of like a different kind of history, you know, which is the kind of. I've always thought there was a aspect to Justin's voice and personality, which is harks back to people like Little Richard.
Right.
I think there's an element to that to Justin's voice, and Jerry Lee Lewis. You know, he's got got that wild abandon. That raw kind of thing, you know, so yeah, that could be the difference.
and let's talk about your bass playing ability as well, because, you know, I've definitely, one of those people who's a musician myself, I can pick out the individual lines of the song, and your bass lines have been one of the things that stand out to me as well. When you're trying to write the bass lines for songs, are you trying to do something to stand in with the drummer to correlate with that, or are you doing something on your own and the drummer correlate to you?
I don't like to think too much about it, really. It's just like to do it instinctively, you know.
Okay.
Definitely, our bass lines are not fussy at all. They're more to do with the attitude than just the aggression. And because I like to keep it raw, you know. I think myself and Ed, we like to. We're not into sophistication. All of the busyness comes from Justin and Dan, and we like to keep it kind of primitive, raw, and aggressive, so then we don't turn into a sophisticated rock band. We don't want to be, you know. We want it to be just a platform for to enable you to listen to Justin's lyrics and get off in the guitar playing.
Yeah, and sometimes simple is better, but I definitely think you're undercutting yourself a bit because you got a great bass line that you seem to play on almost every track, especially on the new album, Hotcakes, that came out in August. What can fans expect that haven't heard all of Hotcakes? What can they expect this to be compared to other albums such as Permission to Land?
What can they expect from Hotcakes you wouldn't get on other albums? Well, I suppose the cover of the album and the title explains everything. It's kind of sweet. It's a little bit naughty.
Okay.
It's warm-hearted. And it's kind of wake-up-in-the-morning music, you know?
Okay, I can definitely agree with that.
Hence the Hotcakes, yeah. And I suppose also that's like it's got the American reference too, Hotcakes. And that's probably because on this album we're kind of, it might be more of the second album, people say the first album is like an AC/DC vibe, the second album is Queen, and a lot of people are saying this one is kind of Aerosmith.
Okay.
So whether or not that's true, I'm not sure, but
I think you guys are just so unique in your own sound that I don't think it's properly fair to compare you to bands. You know, I think you guys have such a unique sound, and I personally appreciate it a lot. And you know,
thanks, man.
I see some of the great songs too. You know, I think that Nothing's Gonna Stop Us and Everybody Have a Good Time. They're just songs that when, like you said, when you wake up in the morning and you play those songs, you have the energy through the rest of the day. And I think those are songs that are also in my my MP3 player for working out as well. So they definitely bring that energy to your fans and to your listeners, if that's what you were going for.
Yeah, thanks, man. Thanks. I appreciate it. Well, you actually put it better than I did. I suppose it's because I'm still on my first coffee of the day.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny, you know, when you're in a band, you just can't see how other people perceive you, you know, because you're listening out for the faults and everything, and you can't really listen to the album because you just hear, you're just like, oh, I could have done that better. It's a strange thing, you know, but I suppose it's knowing when to stop and just, yeah, there's a certain freeness and rawness to this album, yeah, which I guess does hark back to Permission to Land. My favourite track in the album is probably Concrete.
Okay.
Because I think that track is kind of ridiculous, but also really passionate and kind of the lyrics. I really like the lyrics. You know, Concrete Jungle.
Right.
Looking for love in the concrete jungle.
Understand.
Something that everyone can relate to. Well, everyone who lives in a concrete jungle.
Now, one of the things about the band as well is you guys have been highly praised by VH1. You were on the 100 Greatest Hard Rock Songs with I Believe in a Thing Called Love, and it was also voted as one of the top 100 greatest songs of the, I guess the 2000s, we'll say. Do you think that, I personally think that they should both be higher. I think that even in the accolades of all the great rock bands out there, to be in the top 100 greatest hard rock songs of all times is an accomplishment in its own. But I think you guys should be higher, somewhere a little further up the list. What does it mean to you when such a high praise comes along that you're considered one of the greatest hard rock songs of all time?
Yeah, it's cool. You know, it's definitely cool to get that. Yeah. But you know, yeah, it's a strange one. You know, because I think we're different from other hard rock bands. Yeah, like some of the stuff you were saying before. You know. You know, like we're not macho, for example, you know?
Right.
Most hard rock bands are kind of macho. We're kind of different. We're almost like a kind of nerds approaching heavy metal and kind of doing it their way, you know? A lot of our fans are nerds. I mean, I don't really like the word nerd. I don't like to put anyone into a kind of category or anything, but we do have a lot of fans that I suppose the media would describe as being nerds. And in some ways we are too, you know? So
yeah, but
that makes us a little bit different from the majority of hard rock bands.
Yeah, but the word nerds nowadays isn't necessarily taken in a negative connotation either. So I understand exactly what you're trying to say with that, though. And I think one of the things too that people over in the States, I know I appreciate, you know, a lot of the glam rock and the prog rock that gets pretty popular over in the UK and Europe, and I think a lot of Americans don't appreciate that as well. Do you think it's honestly because Americans' attention span tends to be a little shorter?
Yeah, it could be the way. Yeah, exactly. It could be. Yeah, there's more of a tradition of prog rock and kind of camp rock and everything that comes from the UK. Yeah, and American is more like a blue-collar thing, and it gets a bit more marginalized, I guess, bands like us. Yeah, you could be right there, yeah. I think maybe you have to be a little bit more obvious with your sentiments and the way you present yourself to be a really successful American hard rock band. And Justin tends to use quite a lot of humor and flavor his kind of lyrics and his message in a certain way that makes it less obvious. He's very much in the English tradition of clever wordplay that goes all the way back to people like Edgar Allan Poe, and the English tradition to disguise things and to have fun with it and to be a bit obtuse. He's definitely coming from there, and that probably makes us less commercial. But that's the band we are anyway. You know, we're not desperately trying to be commercial. The most important thing is that he amuses himself and that we amuse ourselves and our kind of fan base, you know. You know, in terms of a crossover hit, that'll come anyway, you know, and there's no point in looking for it. You just, you know, you have to be true to your artistic kind of your artistic instincts.
And I think whatever you guys do, you should absolutely keep up the good work, because I appreciate it, and I know quite a few of my friends do as well. Frankie, real quickly, if you had 5 to 10 minutes left on this earth and you could hear one song, what would be that last song you would want to hear?
Great question. Okay, I'm going to say straight off The Carpenters, Calling Occupants of Interplanetary Craft, because it's a cosmic song.
Okay. I appreciate that. That's really good. Again, Frankie, thank you for sticking around with us. You are listening to Across the Board with Ian the Colonel here on hawkradio.org and acrosstheboardradio.com.